Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Goosebumps, How to Kill a Monster. And this is one of my all-time favorite episodes of all time. Now, they made a lot of changes from the book, I think for the better. And it's only a one-parter. And, it had a perfect runtime. It didn't need no two-parter, but it would have been kind of cooler if they did. But you could tell this entire story basically in one episode, so that was so great. But my God, this episode was just so cool, man. I mean, you really gotta put yourself in the story. Being two kids locked alone in the house, and there's a monster trying to eat you and everything, and you have to find a way to kill it and stuff. But yeah, this thing does change. Well, this episode does change a lot from the books. I think for the better. R.L. Stein is great, but sometimes, the show does a bit of a better job. Now, the setting and the atmosphere of this entire episode, my God, I love it. It really sets the tone. That's one thing I love about Goosebumps over that of the Haunting Hour and that of the Nightmare Room is that the settings, the setting, it has to help make the story. The location, they're in the South, Louisiana, they're in the swamp area and stuff. You gotta give it up for a swamp. A swamp is a very beautiful, ugly looking thing. It's ugly and mucky, but it has a beautiful quality to it. And then it's played by this beautiful banjo music music and everything. And it really sets the mood. And when you get to the grandparents like home, it's this old beat down, run up like wooden house and stuff, almost like a cabin. And that's the one thing that Goosebumps really did well. It really searched for locations. I don't know if there are swamps over in Canada. I don't know. They just filmed. I don't know if they flew out to America to film it or what. But that's the one thing I always loved about Goosebumps. They pick really good locations and homes and this and that. The problem with the Haunting Hour, they must have had some type of contract where they got to film on this one street and this one street only. Because in a lot of episodes in season 1 and 2. They primarily film on this one street location where all the houses look very similar and stuff. And that's something that's always bugged me and stuff about the Haunting Hour. And with how clean the street looked and stuff. But anyways, it's Gretchen and Clark, and they've been dropped off by a taxi, and they're walking, waiting for Gretchen's grandpa and grandma. The grandpa did not pick them up from the airport, so they had to get a cab all the way out to that swamp area and stuff. And it's out in the middle of nowhere. No other homes are around. Now, the whole setup is that Clark and Gretchen's parents got together, making them step siblings and everything. And the parents are on the honeymoon, so that's why they're at Gretchen's grandparents' place. Now, in the book, the parents were already married prior to these events for a very long time. And one thing I gotta notice is that I don't know if it's the girl who plays Gretchen, if it's her look or it's the show trying to do it, but they have her wearing a lot of purple in this episode. I think it might be her because even her nails are purple. And the outfit they got on her is styling from the 90s and stuff. They put her in some really cool looking outfits. And purple, and the color shade of purple they give her, it's like a lavender almost kind of purple. That's why I like purple Power Rangers so much, because they're very rare to see. And they have her in so much purple, and later on in the episode when they're running from the monster and stuff, she's wearing a purple shirt, another purple shirt on top of that you have to button up, purple pants and purple shoes. Either her favorite color is purple or something. And Clark, he's dressed like a very well-mannered dude, And the difference between those two is that, he's from the city. He doesn't like the South. He can't stand it. He don't like the bugs. He don't like the swamp. he complains a lot. I like Clark. Clark's cool and stuff, but he's never happy and stuff. And it's a classic R.L. Stein, like, two kids don't get along and getting dumped on like a relative and stuff out in the middle of nowhere. Classic R.L. Stein. So they have to walk to the grandparents' place, but they see a sign. It's a gumbo sign, and so they changed this. In the books, Grandma Rose is a baker, and she bakes things like pies and stuff. But in the show, it's a gumbo thing that she makes. They have a gumbo business. That makes more sense. Yeah, they do bake in the South, but gumbo is really huge in the South, especially Louisiana. So they go out to the place and everything, and they're hearing noises outside, and it kind of like freaks them out a little bit, but whatever. Anyway, they get inside, and like Grandma's so happy to see them, and may she rest in peace, the actress who plays her. And and then Grandpa comes back, and may he rest in peace as well. I like this old couple. They're cool. It's sad they passed away. And so basically, Clark is eating gumbo for like the first time, and he is not liking it because it's so hot. And the grandpa, oh, like he walks over because they're wondering what this tastes like. It tastes like chicken. He's like, it ain't chicken, it's gator. And he just came back from hunting, but he forgot like his shells and stuff. And so like he sticks his finger in Clark's like food and licks it. And it's just like, ugh. He's like, needs more hot sauce, and he pours it in there. Now the hot sauce they use is just like, it looks like orange Kool-Aid or orange soda, but mostly orange Kool-Aid. Looks like what it looks like. It's so runny and wet. I've never seen hot sauce look so runny and wet. I've always seen like it look more like a goop type thing, like barbecue sauce. I don't like hot sauce. I ain't for no hot spice. I'm like the only black person who does not like spicy foods and stuff. And so like, Clark is running off the mouth talking about like, there's a possibility there could be monsters out in that swamp, all those gases and chemicals mixing together and animals and stuff. It could mutate something. Gretchen thinks he's being an idiot, and Grandpa and Grandma had like a weird, worried look on their face. You can tell they hiding something, but you don't know what. And so they hear these weird growling noises and stuff. And that's what made Clark like assume the worst about monsters and stuff. And they're all like, it's probably swamp gas and everything making that noise. Now, there's a recurring gag that the grandparents keep getting Clark's name wrong. That's only in the show, never in the book. Also, they left out the dog Charlie in the book. And so, like, one night, Gretchen wakes up and she wants some water, right? And she hears more growling, monstrous noises. So she starts to walk towards the room, only to be stopped by the grandparents. And she's all like, I heard something in there. And they're like, you didn't hear nothing. You probably just half asleep. And it's probably just swamp gas and crap like that. And so the grandpa, he gives her like a glass of water. Well, the next day and everything, like, when grandparents are hiding something. It's always something weird with the grandparents and Goosebumps. Like, they always up to something. So anyway, the next day and everything, like, cause see, Gretchen and Clark, they argue so much because they can't stand each other. And so one day, like, she goes into like that room that she ain't supposed to go into. And there's like a bed type thing or a table, and there's a sheet cover on top of it. And she pulls it back, and there's a monster, a freaky orange yellowish looking monster. And it looks like a hybrid of like a dinosaur and a chicken, which in the book is completely different. It's fuzzy, has the head of a gator and the body of a gorilla. And I don't know why. Well, the gator part makes sense for the South, but I don't know about the whole gorilla body like R.L. Stein. But I like the chicken dinosaur look. The costume is like amazing looking. The face looks cool, but you can tell it's it's typical like rubbery looking mask type thing for the face, kind of like the Ninja Turtles faces, from the live action movies. or any other kind of horror movie. So those faces always had that weird look to them, but it's just a full body suit and everything. And so she's freaking out, she's running out, and she tells Clark about it. And Clark doesn't necessarily believe her, and he goes inside. Then you hear him screaming, and she runs in there. And Clark hides and everything. And he's like, ain't no monster up in here. And the thing has literally gone. Like, where is it? And she's all like, I don't know. Grandpa must have shot it and like forgot he had it up here or something like that. 'Cause he forgets like a lot of crap. Well, they see in the window that Grandpa and Grandma are riding out on a motorcycle. And Clark is kind of like, how in the world they leave us here in the house by ourselves and stuff? And Gretchen's all like, they must have just forgot. Well, at some point, Clark scares like Gretchen, and he dressed up as a monster. And the monster is kind of reminiscent of what the monster looks like in the book. It has an alligator head, but he's wearing kind of like a trench coat type thing. It pisses her off, and she chases after him. He goes into like, I guess like a cellar or something like that, or a basement or something, and he hides. But then when she's running, she almost falls through the steps because it's missing a lot of the steps and stuff. And so like they head back into like the house. And so then like all of a sudden the monster is like there, and they see it, and they holler and they scream. They're just taking off running. They're trying to leave the house, and they can't. The grandparents have locked them inside the house from the front. So then they go to like the back where the kitchen's at, and that door is locked from the inside as well. And Clark is just kind of like, I knew I should never married into this family and stuff like that. And he's all like, kind of like, how they gonna leave us in the house with a monster to get eaten? This is probably what your grandparents wanted. So Gretchen is pissed and they ain't having none of this. So they find a note talking about like, they're going out to the market and all this other crap, and like don't go into that room and stuff like that. And so she keeps the note, but they don't understand how they're gonna like survive and stuff, right? But Gretchen, the thinker she is, she has a plan. They go into the kitchen and they get all the spices they can find: garlic, peppers, onions, black pepper, all kind of stuff, right? Chili peppers. And they mix it into the gumbo and they stir it all around. And so like the music is getting intense, but in a banjo kind of way. So then they hide, and the monster goes into the kitchen and it eats all the stuff in like the pot. It eats the entire thing, and it kind of like spazzes a little bit, and it passes out from the gumbo. They're happy. They're like, woohoo, we killed the monster and stuff and everything. But in the book, they put the ingredients in a pie. See, that just don't make no sense. It makes more sense for a gumbo. Anyway, it's not dead. It wakes up and it chases them. But Gretchen has another idea. They run back into like that cellar type place or a basement or whatever, and they dive off like the steps where the gap is at, and they dangle from like the steps, and the monster falls down in the gap space, and it falls smack dab on like the floor pavement, and it's knocked out conscious. They're happy once again. They killed the monster. Clark's like, we did it, and she's kind of like, what are you talking about? It's my idea and stuff. And so like then they argue and bicker more about like, well, it's your fault for going into a room and disturbing the monster. And she's all like, well, you being an idiot and went in there the second time. But then they're arguing and they're bickering, and then Clark can see, or one of them can see, that the monster has risen and stuff like that. And so they're scared and they're panicking again. They don't know how they're going to get out. But Gretchen, Miss Thinker, she comes up with a way. She realizes that they could probably crawl up the smokestack type thing from the how they heat the house and stuff. And so they're running there and they're trying to get there. She's able to climb on top of it, but Clark is not. He is cornered by that of the monster. It's a very terrifying scene. She's reaching her hand trying to grab him, but Clark is too short and can't reach her hand. And the monster is just like coming towards him. It's pissed. It's angry. And Clark's just kind of like, screw it. and he punches like the monster in the mouth, and his hand is inside the dude's mouth, and the monster is kind of like grabbing onto his hand and kind of biting onto it, and Clark is like screaming, and but then all of a sudden it kind of coughs and sneezes, and then it hits the ground. And everything. And it's kind of like, well, what the heck happened? And then all of a sudden, the monster explodes, and there's green goop flying everywhere and on the kids and everything. And it's so gross and disgusting. Well, anyway, in the next scene, Clark was able to make it up the smokestack type thing or whatever you call it. And they're outside. They're in the swamp, near like the swamp water and everything. And they're happy that they're safe. And it's still daytime, but it's late in the afternoon. And they don't understand what killed the monster. And Clark starts sneezing. And then she's all like, oh, your allergies and everything. Like the monster must have been allergic to you. And so they're worried that there might be more monsters out in the swamp, but they just happen to be out the house. Now, the house is where they'll be more safe because the monster literally exploded. Like it's finally dead. But then, like, Clark's all like, read that note again. Maybe they say what time they're going to be back. So then she sees something on the back, and it's all like, P.S. Grandpa shot a monster and left it up in the room. Don't go in that room and you'll be fine. And then it's like, P.P.S. Don't go outside because it could be more monsters and stuff. So then it's a beautiful shot of the kids looking scared and worried as nighttime falls and everything, and it pans away from them. We see like the beautiful scene of like the swamp, and it ends. And the swamp water is like bubbling and everything. So now you're terrified and afraid, thinking there could be more monsters out there. And it would have been great if this would have had a follow-up season in like in the next season or something, but sadly there is not. Now in the book, the monster actually speaks. See, it was Gretchen that killed the monster. It licked Gretchen's arm, and it was allergic to her, talking about how it's allergic to humans, and then it dies and stuff. And it tells her, oh, we're allergic to humans, and it dies. And there's also more monsters out there and stuff in the swamp. But, and the whole allergy thing was never present in the book with Clark, or him punching it in like the mouth and stuff. And so I guess they needed him to do something like brave, since she's the ideal person, and he decided just to like screw it and fight the monster with his fist. But it's all in all, this was a great episode, man. But it needed a follow-up and stuff. I think the actress who plays Gretchen, man, her hair is amazing. It's like golden, which is funny because like people always say people in Canada aren't born with blonde hair and they dye their hair blonde. Somebody has to have blonde hair. I mean, maybe Trish Stratus has like brown hair in real life. Maybe she dyes it. Who knows? Like, I don't know, I don't think she acts no more. The dude who plays Clark, I think he does. I'm not 100% sure. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.